Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome for the Sunday morning session
thing you do when you wake up in the morning. If you're checking your
science
phone,
of self-realization.
instead, try this technique from the mind science pioneer, Jose Silva. You see, when we're awake, our brain is at what is called theta, the waking level. But when we wake up in the morning, our brain is actually at a...
So today we're going to start with a new topic in this session. This is called a devotee always feels compassion. Right? It is again a talk given by Prabhupada. Very wonderful topic. So we will discuss on this today. And all these discussions are happening from a book known as The Science of Self-Realization. And the inspiration by His Divine Grace Prabhupada, who has so nicely compiled these literatures for our progress and our advancement in spiritual life. So we owe a great sense of gratitude to Prabhupada for this wonderful contribution. So in this topic, basically, Prabhupada is going to discuss on how a Vaishnava or a devotee is very compassionate. He's explaining, elaborating on the compassion of devotees all over the world. So Jesus Christ was one such great devotee of God. So Prabhupada gives example of Jesus Christ in his course of talk. We just taken it as a preamble for our today's session. Prabhupada says, when Lord Jesus Christ presented himself, for instance, he was greatly afflicted by the miserable conditions of the people, regardless of which country or sect they belong to. All Vaishnavas or devotees, any people who are God conscious or Krishna conscious, are thus compassionate. Right? This is the main tagline with regard to which we're going to discuss today's session, and also a few more sessions in the same topic. Right? So whichever country they belong to, the devotees of God, like Jesus Christ or Prahlad Maharaj or any great devotees, Prabhupada himself, they are always seeing how to relieve people from the miserable conditions. That is the main concern, right? So this is their great compassion. So Prabhupada begins his talk by quoting a statement from the Bhagavata, the description of hellish planets in the universe. So Prabhupada says, today I shall speak to you about the glorification of the holy name of God. This was discussed between Maharaj Parikshit and Shukdev Goswami in connection with a Brahmana who was very fallen and addicted to all kinds of sinful activities, but was saved simply by chanting the holy name. Right? In the 6th canto of Bhagavatam, there is a description of one incident wherein a Brahmana by name Ajamila, he got into wrong association and he was finally saved by the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. That is the whole incident. So in that, while describing those incidents, which is described in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says that the universal planetary systems are also very nicely explained in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. See, Bhagavatam is a great literature which is describing the universal arrangement of the different planetary systems in this creation and the various living entities in those universes and their type of living they are having there. And also, it basically gives you an understanding about the world where we are living in. Because right now, the modern scientists, astronomers have limited understanding of the world around us. Whereas Bhagavatam is giving a very exhaustive and wonderful description of this whole understanding. So, the universal arrangement or universal planetary systems is being described in the Bhagavatam. Why it is so? To make us understand that what is our situation, what is our position in the material world. We are very tiny, but we think that we are everything, or our earth is everything. That is actually a wrong understanding. It is creating a sense of arrogance and pride in the people. Right? So Prabhupada is trying to make us understand. No, Bhagavatam, when you read, there is a nice description of so many wonderful things which all of us should know because we are in the material world. The universal planetary systems are very nicely explained in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is mentioned there that within the universe, there are some planets that are hellish. This understanding of hell, heaven is not that it is imaginary. They're all factually existing. In fact, Bhagavad Gita gives a hint about how there are planets of heaven, wherein the personality is called devatas or demigods reside. And in the hellish planets, the people who are sinful are sent for punishment. Right? These are all factual descriptions. There is no exaggeration in this, or not that it is some concoction. It is all described in all the scriptures that in this whole creation there are planets which are called higher planets, and there are planets which are called lower planets, and they have different say reasons for these arrangements and the way it is being constituted. Right. So there are some planets called hellish planets. And Prabhupada confirms that not only Bhagavatam, but all religious scriptures contain descriptions of hell and heaven. Right? Not only in Bhagavatam, but so many scriptures all across the world, different religious scriptures have description of hell and heaven. Even Christianity, there's description of hell and heaven. Right? So even any other major religions, if you see, all of them have this description of hell and heaven. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, you can find out where those hellish planets are and how distant they are from this planet, just as you can obtain information from modern astronomy. Right? So very vivid description is given with regard to the positioning of different planetary systems in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Srimad Bhagavatam is a vast Vedic literature. It's actually the essence of the complete range of Vedic literatures in a very wonderful manner, presented by the author Vyasadeva, who is actually incarnation of Lord Krishna for presenting this Bhagavatam in this book form. So this detailed description about different planetary systems, their position in this location, because as living entities, when we are subjected to the laws of this nature as governed by Lord Krishna, we are going through transmigration from one planet to another based on our different activities. We are actually going on taking birth in different planetary systems in this universe. That is our situation right now. So not that you are you die here and you get again take birth on earth only. No. Because very clearly Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Urdhvam gacchanti satvasta madhye tishtanti brajasa jaganya guna vrittista. He says, those who have developed, or rather those who have cultivated their life in the mode of goodness, they will elevate themselves to higher planetary systems. Because above earth, there are higher planetary systems called Janaloka, Tapoloka, Brahmaloka, even Svargaloka also is one of the higher planetary systems. And there are planetary systems below Earth called lower planetary systems, like Patala, Atala, Vitala, like that. So these descriptions are very wonderfully given in the Bhagavata. So further, Prabhupada very nicely explains that astronomers have calculated how far the moon is from here and what is the distance between planet and the sun. This planet and the sun, right? Astronomers have some understanding of various planets in our solar system. But nevertheless, Bhagavatam has very detailed description of the different hellish planets also. Right? The Bhagavatam contains descriptions of hellish planets. We have experience of different atmospheric conditions even on this planet. Even on this earthly planet, there is different situations. Just like, you see, Prabhupada gives example to make us understand. The western countries near the North Pole, the climate is different than in India, which is near the equator. Right? North Pole always is covered with snow. Because in India is a tropical country wherein, we don't have like this snowing always, in at least in major portion of India. Right? In some portions, of course, there's snowing at particular times. Whereas there are places, North Pole is always snow-covered areas. Just as there are differences in atmosphere and living conditions on this planet, similarly, there are many planets that have different atmospheres and conditions of life. Right? So, just like there are different atmospheric conditions in our own planet, we can see like this. Different planets have different atmospheric conditions. It's like it is said, the moon, the temperature is very low. That's why moon is in the night, it is giving out so much cooling effect for all of us, because it is the atmosphere there is very cooling. Whereas sun planet is too much heat. That every planetary system has different types of environment. That's the understanding. Similarly, there are hellish planets where the situation is different. So we have been, this whole background is given for us to understand for the topic which we have begun to discuss about the devotee or the servant of God is always very compassionate. To explain this, Prabhupada is quoting from an incident from Bhagavata, 6th canto. Bhagavatam has 12 cantos. The 6th canto describes initially about one Brahmana who got into bad association and he fell from his position as a Brahmana. And later on, he was saved by the holy name of God. Right? How this happened and what happened is details which we'll discuss later. But for time being, Prabhupada begins the description by telling how there are different planetary systems, different types of planetary arrangements in this whole cosmic world. Some are called upper planets, some are called lower planets, hellish planets, like this. So this was the description. So now coming to the actual point. After hearing a description of the hellish planets from Shukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj said this. He asked a question. Aduneha Mahabhaga Yathaiva Naraka Naraha Nanogra Yatanan Niyat Tanme Vyakhyatum Arhasi. He said, Sir, I have heard from you about the hellish planets. Men who are very sinful are sent to those planets. You see. So, the background of understanding different arrangements of the planets in this whole world is to make us understand that this question which Parikshit is asking. Parikshit Maharaj, he was cursed to die in 7 days. So he was asking some questions to Shukadeva Goswami. So one such question was, I have heard from you about different hellish planets. Only men who are very sinful are sent to those planets. So this sin and piety, Papa, Punya, is something which all of us are familiar. So if you are doing sinful activities, the destination will be you go to hell. And if you're doing pious activities, you will go to heaven. So Parikshit Maharaj is a devotee, Vaishnava. And a Vaishnava always feels compassion for others' distress. Basically, the background with which Parikshit is asking question to Shukadeva Goswami is, why is there suffering for people? Why there should be suffering for people? Right? Why so much suffering? Because the description of hellish planets was that, you are given very severe punishments. It's like if you have eaten meat in your during your lifetime, you are similarly, punished in a way that you are thrown into a big vessel with boiling oil. There, you are completely boiled like anything. How you have boiled an animal. Likewise, you are also boiled, and you are given punishment like that. So, like this, very ghastly descriptions were given about the hellish planets. So, as a devotee, as a Vaishnava, Parikshit Maharaj was feeling very much pained that how can living entities suffer like this, right? Parikshit Maharaj is a Vaishnava devotee, and a Vaishnava feels always compassion for others' distress. This is one of the qualifications of a devotee. When others are in trouble or others are in distress, the Vaishnava feels too much pained for why they are suffering. So, whereas normal course of life, we see in an ordinary person's life, when others are in problem, it hardly matters for him, right? Other person will only say, oh, he's good, he's suffering, I'm enjoying. It's a very nice statement which Prabhupada says, para dukkha dukhi. With this Vaishnava way of moving forward in with regard to everybody's sufferings. Whereas an ordinary person will say, Para Dukha Sukhi. Others are in distress. Oh, I am happy. Others are in happy situation. I am distressed. Oh, why is he happy so much? This is the ordinary person's mentality, without any devotion. So like this, Parikshit Maharaj is a great devotee. So he's feeling compassion for others' distress. So like how Jesus Christ also presented himself. For instance, he was greatly afflicted by the miserable condition of the people. Right? The whole history of Christianity, if you see, for Jesus Christ, he was feeling very pained for the different miserable conditions which the people are going through. This is a natural quality of a devotee. He can't tolerate other sufferings. So regardless of which country or sect they belong to, all Vaishnavas are devotees. Any people who are God conscious or Krishna conscious are thus compassionate. Right? So compassion is one of the say pillars of religion, dharma. Right? There are 4 pillars of dharma or religion. One is compassion, daya. One more is satya, truthfulness. Second one. And third is called purity, suchitva. And fourth is called tapasya or austerity. So these are the 4 pillars of religious life, dharma, dharmic life. Right? Daya, satya, suchitva, and tapasya. So when these 4 principles of dharma are broken, it is called adharma. In fact, they are broken in different degrees to different ways. So adharma, even little, when one of these principles is violated, it's called adharma. It's like in Kali Yuga, it is said the 3 principles of compassion, then purity, and tapasya is almost gone. Little level of honesty or truthfulness is there. So this is present Kali Yuga, which means out of the 4 pillars of sinful life, 3 are already fully broken. How we can understand? The compassion, daya. How mercilessly we are killing so many innocent animals for our tongue, for taste of our tongue. It's breaking our principle of compassion. And with regard to purity, suchitva, we can see that how people are indulging in illicit affairs and it is being advertised, glamorized, and so much of rather it is valued so much. Oh, having no marriage, just having an affair is good enough. I was just reading recently came across one article wherein one actress is telling, if I can have enjoyment for 10 minutes and no trouble of marriage and children, why not? This is the way people are going forward. So this sense of purity with regard to your existence is completely destroyed right in the present day situation. Right? So compassion, purity, and austerity. People are so much addicted to intoxication and gambling, because of which their austerity is all completely destroyed. Because when you take intoxicants, your mind becomes clouded. And for you to perform any voluntary actions for your spiritual progress is that way hampered. That's what happens when you consume intoxicants. Right? Your ability to perform some activities which is little having some hardship, you don't want to take. Just like we say, get up early in the morning. So before Brahma Muhurta, before sun rises, 1.5 hours before sunrise, that is difficult for people. And even a simple austerity of like getting up early or chanting Hare Krishna mantra becomes difficult because they're intoxicated. Their mind, it doesn't strike for them. That's the point. So these are the things. So here Prabhupada is trying to tell us compassion is something which is very common for all great devotees. Every history proves it, but how they are compassionate to everybody that way. Therefore, Prabhupada says, to blaspheme a Vaishnava, a preacher of God's glory, is a great offense. Because devotees by nature, they are compassionate. They are so compassionate. But you try to offend such a devotee is a great offense. Or rather, you want to blaspheme, or you want to, belittle him, undermine him. That is offense. How it is so, Prabhupada explains further. He says, Krishna, God, is never tolerant of offenses committed to the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Why? Because God is also very compassionate. Even though you don't want to recognize him, don't want to do service to him, even though all this, we are so against his very existence, he's compassionately taking care of you. Right? In the ordinary course of affairs, if somebody doesn't like you, he doesn't even care for you. Right? Whereas with regard to Krishna, you don't even bother about him or don't even care for Krishna, but Krishna is always loving you. That is Krishna's compassion. And devotees of Krishna are similarly having compassion for all living entities, that they want to somehow help everybody to go back to Krishna. Like it is said, devotees are more compassionate than Krishna himself. Sometimes Krishna becomes very strict with people who are not devotees, or rather who are against devotees of Krishna. But whereas Krishna, devotees are more compassionate, more merciful than Krishna himself. So Krishna takes a very special consideration that he never tolerates the offenses committed to a Vaishnava or a devotee. He never, zero tolerance. Yes. So Prabhupada enumerates on the wonderful qualities of a Vaishnava, taking this wonderful opportunity. He says, Kripam Buddhi. This Vaishnava is an ocean of mercy. Right? This is one of the qualities of a devotee. It's an ocean of mercy. Vancha kalpataru. Everyone has desires, but a Vaishnava can fulfill all desires. Kalpataru means desire tree. So a Vaishnava is like a desire tree. You can fulfill everyone's desires. There's a tree in the spiritual world which is called a desire tree. In this material world, you get a particular type of fruit from a particular type of tree. But in Krishna Loka, as well as in the Vaikuntha planets, all the trees are spiritual and will fulfill all your desires. Right? So, the material world tree will give specific, things which it is designed for. Whereas spiritual world, the trees are called desire trees, which can give you or satisfy you anything from that, anything what you want. That's how spiritual world, they're called Kalpa Vriksha, right? They are desire trees, like that. Bhama Samhita, one scripture describes this. Chintamani Prakara Sadmashu Kalpa Vriksha, right? This is what it is. So devotees are like that. They're like desire trees, fulfill the desires of everyone. A Vaishnava is addressed as Mahabhaga, which means he's very fortunate. Why is very fortunate? One who becomes a Vaishnava and is God conscious is understood to be greatly fortunate. Because taking up devotional service is something which is our constitution. Very nicely, Prabhupada says, a living entity in its pure state is called a devotee or a Vaishnava. Right? On our original state, pure state, we are actually devotees, Vaishnavas. So, you have come back to original situation, that is greatly fortunate situation. Otherwise, you are taking different situations, positions, different bodies, you are loitering, you are roaming around, you are transmigrating in different bodies. That is unfortunate. It's like each man's son, he somehow loitering in the street without understanding that I have a very good background of family. It is going on in this world. That is unfortunate. Whereas a person who understands, oh, my rich father is here and I have to go back to him and I have to serve him, that is greatly fortunate. So Vaishnavas are like that. Once you become a devotee means you are considered to be very greatly fortunate. You come back to your normal situation. So further Prabhupada says, based on this concept, he explains one principle called as you sow, so shall you reap. So this greatly fortunate situation of a devotee, how it has come about to him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains, who is Lord Krishna himself, that the living entities are rotating in different species of life, in different planetary systems all over the universe. So this is called Brahmanda Brahmana. Living entities, as I was describing in the beginning, that not that we are only, once we die, only we are going to be again born in the same family, no, not at all. Where you're going to be born depends on your various previous works. So in that way, we are rotating in different species of life, in different planetary systems all over the universe. That is our life, basically, right? So this being the case, a living entity can go anywhere to hell or heaven as he likes and as he prepares himself. Either you can go to hell or heaven based on what actions you do. So the situation what we are in right now is all because of our own actions. Very important. Man is the architect of his own future. So what actions we do now will determine our future course of action, right? So it will create a profile for our future way of life, future path of life. So if you are leading a life of piety, or as per the directions given in the scriptures, then your path will be glorious, fortunate one. If you are not leading a path as per the scriptural understanding, then you are leading a very dangerous path, disastrous path. That's the point. So whatever situation right now we are in is all because of our own doings. So we can, that way, we have the liberty of changing our situation. This is called spiritual destiny, right? A living entity can go anywhere, to hell or heaven, as he likes and as he prepares himself. Very powerful statement, right? As he likes, as he prepares himself. Just like you want to, just because you like to go to America doesn't mean you can go immediately. You have to prepare also for that, how to go there. Like that, we can go anywhere, right? Anywhere in this creation. Your activities determine where you will go finally. But you may like to have a better situation, but your actions are contrary to that. You will be given what your actions are. The result of actions will be awarded to you. That's the point. So the living entity can go anywhere, to hell or heaven, as he likes and as he prepares himself. He's talking about the spiritual destiny. There are many heavenly planets, many hellish planets, and many species of life. So it's not that you are forced to go anywhere. In human form of life, especially, you have the choice, you have that free will to decide where to go. So if your activities are as per Bhagavad Gita's teachings, then Krishna assures you will go back to him. If you're not performing actions as per the directions of Gita, you want to do things on your own whimsically, then that is going to be disastrous for us. So there are 84 lakh species, or 8.4 million species of life. The living entity is rotating, wandering through these species and creating bodies according to his mentality in the present life. As you sow, so shall you reap. Very important revelation, which again to repeat. Right? So the different types of living entities around us, what we see, different species of life, what we see is all basically the choice which the living entity has made. Once you get a human form, you have opportunity to liberate yourself from this cycle of going through different species of life, rotating in different species of life. But if you don't make a conscious choice like that, don't prepare for that, then you'll continue again in cycle of evolution. This point we've discussed in the previous sessions. How, based on your actions, again you're posted or you're given a specific birth in a specific species of life. Again, from there, through evolution cycle, you have to move forward up and up. It's like if a living entity gets the body of a aquatic fish. From fish, you have to get a plant life. After going through at least 9 lakh species of aquatics, you have to go through plant life. Then after that, you get the body of insect, reptiles, then the body of a bird, then the body of an animal. There are 30 lakh species of animals. Then you get a human form. This is how the evolution is. For example, if a living entity, for his actions in human life, he's degraded to become a plant. Then he has to go through this evolution gradually. Plant life to insect life, insect life to bird life to animal life, then only human form. That's what Prabhupada want to say here. So The living entity is rotating, wandering through these species and creating bodies according to his mentality in the present life. As you sow, so shall you reap. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that out of all these numberless living entities who are traveling in the material world, one is fortunate, not everyone. Right? So many entities are going on in this material world, in different planets, different situations. Numberless living entities, as Prabhupada says, limitless living entities. They're all traveling in the material world in different species of life. Brahmanda Brahmana, we are doing. Brahmanda Brahmana means we are just traveling, going on, rotating in different species of life. Kono Bhagyavanji, one fortunate person can understand about his situation, what's going on in his life. If everyone were fortunate, then they would all have taken to Krishna consciousness. It is being distributed freely everywhere. Just like, this movement of Hare Krishna, chanting of Hare Krishna is being distributed freely to everybody. Only fortunate people take to this. Unfortunate people don't take to this. That's the point. But why are people not taking to it? Because they are unfortunate. Whereas a devotee is very fortunate, Mahabhaga. He is ocean of mercy. That's what we are discussing. Whereas people, because they are not taking to Krishna consciousness, they are unfortunate. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that only those who are fortunate take to this Krishna consciousness and they get hopeful life, pleasant life, blissful life, a life of knowledge. Right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling that only one who is fortunate can take to this Krishna consciousness. Brahmanda Bharmite Kono Bhagyavanji Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. By the mercy of Guru and Krishna, they get the seed of devotion. Once the seed of devotion is planted in somebody's heart, then the life becomes very hopeful, pleasant, blissful, full of knowledge. Right? So we see that such a devotee whose life is blissful, hopeful, pleasant, their duty is to only save people from suffering. The duty of a Vaishnava to go door to door to make the unfortunate people fortunate. Right? Devotees they go out to just make everybody fortunate. Let's see how compassionate they are. A Vaishnava thinks, how can these people be delivered from their hellish life? That was Parikshit Maharaj inquiry. This is the background in which Parikshit is asking this question. People are suffering in hellish planets. How can they be delivered? Because devotee, naturally, his quality is what? His ocean of mercy. He wants to benefit everybody with devotion to Lord. So Parikshit said, sir, you have described that on account of one's sinful activities, one is put into a hellish condition of life or in hellish planetary system. Right? Based on one activities, as you sow, so shall you reap. If you are doing sinful activities, you're sent to hell. If you're doing pious activities, you're sent to heaven. Now, what are the counter methods by which such persons can be saved? This is the question. Somebody has done some sinful activities, but I don't want them to go and suffer in hell. What else they can do that they can counter these sinful actions? That's the question. When a Vaishnava comes, when God himself comes, or when God's son or his very confidential devotees come, their only mission is to save the sinful men who are suffering. They have knowledge of how to do this. This is what the devotees are always trying to do. When you see devotees, they're not simply going around to see that, as Prabhupada says, to become a Vaishnava means you have an easy living. Simply eat and sleep. No. The purpose of a Vaishnava means his mission of life is, I have got benefited to some extent by following the path of devotion and the path of God. So let me also help others. That is the mood of a devotee. Right? This is what Prabhupada tells us here, that a Vaishnava, when he comes, or God himself comes, or God's son like Jesus Christ came, their only mission is to save the people from this material world, suffering. Sinful people are suffering in the material world, they want to save them. And they have right knowledge to do this. So in this context, Prabhupada gives example of Prahlad Maharaj's compassion. Right? This whole aspect of devotees' compassion is what we are going to discuss today. So Prahlad Maharaj very nicely expresses his compassion in a nice statement in Bhagavatam. He says, I am not worried about myself. He says, when Prahlad Maharaj met Narsimhadev, he said this statement, Naivo dvije para duratya yavaitaranyas tadvite gayana mahamritamagna chittaha shocetato vimukha chetasa indriyartha maya sukhaya bharamudvahato vimudhan. My dear Lord, Prahlad says, I am not very anxious for my own deliverance. Prahlad Maharaj says. Why? He's not anxious for his deliverance. Because you see, Mayavadi philosophers, spiritualists, they are very careful that their personal salvation is not interrupted. Right? There are a class of transcendentalists called Mayavadi philosophers. They first want their liberation, their salvation. Right? They don't want their ideas disturbed. They think if I go to preach in association with others, I may fall down and my realization will be finished. Therefore, they do not come. The Mayavadis generally don't go out to tell about relieve people from suffering from in this humanity, because they think if I go, then I also get contaminated. I also get badly associated. So I don't want to go. My path of salvation will be hampered. That's what they think. Only the Vaishnavas come at the risk of fall down, but they do not fall down. Vaishnavas go out to meet the materialists, the unfortunate people, to elevate them, to liberate them. They may even go to hell to deliver the conditioned souls. This is Prahlad Maharaj's mission. Just see, this is compassion of Vaishnavas or devotees. They're even ready to go to hell to save these conditioned souls. He says, I am not very anxious about living in this material world. Naivo dvije. Right? I'm not anxious to live in this material world. And I am very happy to always further says that I have no anxiety for myself, because somehow or other I have been trained to be always Krishna conscious. This is a devotee's mentality and this is his disposition. That for me personally, I have no problem, because I have been always absorbed in thinking about you. I've been trained to be always Krishna conscious, right? Whereas I am anxious about others. Why? We'll come to that point. Because he is Krishna conscious, he is confident that in his next life he is going to Krishna. A devotee is very conscious, very confident that in his next life he will go to Krishna. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that if one executes the Krishna conscious regulative principles carefully, it is certain that he will reach the supreme destination in his next life. Just see. Very clearly Gita says, Bhagavad Gita Krishna says, that if you follow the rules, regulations as given in Bhagavad Gita carefully, next life you will not take birth again, you will go back to Krishna. Right? So Prahlad Maharaj is not worried in that way, because he is assured that my next life I am going back to Krishna, because I am following Krishna consciousness. But his anxiety is for what? His anxiety is for people's deliverance. Just see the compassion of a pure devotee, because ordinarily a person wants his welfare first. Whereas a devotee is not worried, because he knows his welfare Krishna takes care, because he is following the principles strictly. But he is more anxious for others. Prahlad Maharaj continues, there is only one source of anxiety for me. What is anxiety? So Prabhupada says, just see, although he had no anxiety for himself, he still had anxiety. Now, what is anxiety he had? He says, Shoche tato vimukha chetasa indriyarth. I'm anxious for those people who are not Krishna conscious. This is my anxiety. This is devotees' anxiety. Those are not Krishna conscious. Those are not devotees. How to deliver them is my anxiety. Just see. This is devotees' way. Because generally people are so absorbed, engrossed in their own life. They're worried about their own personal welfare, personal comfort, all these things. But devotee is not worried about his personal comfort. Rather, he is more concerned about others' welfare. This is why devotee becomes more dear to Krishna. He has taken up the mission of Lord Krishna. Further Prabhupada says very nicely, for myself, I have no anxiety, but I'm thinking of those who are not Krishna conscious. This shows Prahlad Maharaj's great compassion for others. Why aren't they Krishna conscious? Why these people are not taking up devotion to Krishna? Because Maya Sukhaya Bharamutvahato Vimudhan. So what is this Maya Sukha? Prabhupada elaborates. These rascals have created a humbug civilization for temporary happiness. Maya Sukha means illusory happiness or temporary happiness. And for this, a big civilization we have created. Prabhupada gives some examples to make us understand what is the meaning of this Maya Sukha. Why people are not Krishna conscious? Because they are engrossed in Maya Sukha. And what is Maya Sukha? Prabhupada explains. Maya Sukhaya, actually it is a fact. We have a humbug civilization. So many cars are being manufactured every year, and for that purpose, so many roads have to be excavated and prepared. Right? Vehicle means it requires a proper road, and for that, lot of hard work. It's called Ugra Karma. Very tough, work for making the roads, excavation, and clearing the paths. Why? Because vehicles have to move, cars have to move, roads are required. And like this, one problem after another problem. Roads are there, then there should be traffic regulations, traffic department is required. To run the car, we have fuel. See, for solving one problem, we have created 10 more problems. That's the point. This creates problem after problem. Therefore, it is called Maya Sukha, illusory happiness. And yet, we are trying to be happy in this way. Right? So one example that Prabhupada is giving, like this, every aspect of your life you analyze, we are completely engrossed in what is known as illusory happiness, Maya Sukhaya. And we are trying to be happy in this way, in this material world. We are trying to manufacture some way to be happy, but this only creates other problems. Some way trying to be happy, this way, that way, but we are only creating more and more problems. That is what is going on right now. In your country, Prabhupada says, Prabhupada speaking this in America. In your country, you have the greatest number of cars, but that does not solve any problem. Right? So every person has three cars, four cars. So, lot of cars are there on the road, but is it solving your problem? Prabhupada says, you have manufactured cars to help solve the problems of life, but I have experienced that this is also creating more problems. Right? One thing is you have created something, invented something to solve problems, but this invention itself is creating so many other problems for you. Right? So Prabhupada gives his personal example. When my disciple Dayananda wanted to take me to a doctor in Los Angeles, I had to take the trouble to travel 30 miles before I could even consult the doctor. Right? So Prabhupada says, America, right? For me, I am having some problem. To go to a doctor, I have to travel so long. This is the present civilization. Once you create cars, then you must travel 30 or 40 miles to meet your friends. What's going on? It's called Maya Sukha. You can fly from New York to Boston in 1 hour, but it takes even longer than that just to get to the airport. It's all of our experience, right? Going to airport itself will take so much time with traffic. And from there, in the flight, maybe it is less time. But to get that Maya Sukha, you have to so much take trouble. This is our experience with all of us. Next Prabhupada says further. This situation is called Maya Sukha, which means we are all imagining that something is very pleasurable, pleasantful, and then it's going to be very comfortable, and we're running behind that. It's called Maya, illusory. Maya means false, illusory. We are trying to create some very comfortable situation, but we have created another uncomfortable situation. It is called Maya Sukha. This is the way of the material world. If we are not satisfied with the natural comforts offered by God and nature, we want to create artificial comforts, then we have to create some discomfort also. Right? Just like the comfort of having a vehicle and traveling in the vehicle, yes, very good, but it also has so many other uncomfortable situations. Creating roads, traffic system, and one very important concern in the modern day is that the pollution. Either it is air pollution, noise pollution, especially in India, it's all going beyond limits. And to solve that problem, environmental impacts and so many other concerns which the great thinkers are having is again bigger. They are having bigger forums to discuss how it is impacting environment. This the whole world is getting warmed up. Like one after other, there is only creating more and more problems. Right? This is how present situation is. Anything you take in the material world, to relieve yourself from one problem, you create some situation that is creating more problems. Most people do not know that. They think that they are creating a very comfortable situation. But actually, they are traveling 50 miles to go to their office, to earn a livelihood, and 50 miles to come back. Right? People think they're just engaged in some sort of an activity. Nowadays, people are traveling extensively here, there, and then working somewhere, family somewhere, like this, things are all going on. They think, oh, this is going to give me comfort, actually. It's going to give me better life. It is called Maya Sukha. Because of such conditions, Prahlad Maharaj says that these Vimudhas, these materialistic persons, these rascals, have created an unnecessary burden on themselves simply for temporary happiness. Right? So, Prahlad Maharaj's statement, these people, they are called, as per him, they are called Vimudhas. Means they are greatly foolish people. They have created an unnecessary burden to themselves for Maya Sukha. Vimudhan Maya Sukhaya Bharamudbhakataha. Therefore, in Vedic civilization, it is recommended that one free himself from material life, take sannyas, the renounced order of life, and prosecute spiritual life with absolutely no anxiety. So, one has to understand that this type of Maya Sukha life is going to only take out your vitality in your life. It is recommended in scriptures. Prahlad Maharaj is telling that here, that this type of life is not going to really bring you ultimate good. Right? We have to renounce from this type of life and execute spiritual life. Be free from anxiety. Right? So we'll discuss more on the subject. And Prahlad Maharaj, as he is telling, that word, people are all engrossed in this illusory happiness. For himself, Prahlad Maharaj had no problem because he is absorbed in service to Krishna. Krishna has assured that his devotees are not in anxiety anytime. Just that as devotees, they are very anxious for others' deliverance. So Prahlad Maharaj is seeing how people are so engrossed in Maya Sukha or illusory happiness because they have become Vimukha Chetasa. They have turned their face against the devotional service to Krishna. Right? So today's topic was basically on the wonderful qualities of a Vaishnava as a compassionate personality. He is the ocean of compassion, ocean of mercy. Right? With that example of Jesus Christ, Parikshit himself, as a devotee, is concerned about people are suffering in hell. And how Prahlad Maharaj also is concerned, as a great devotee, is concerned, we could see. And like this, Prabhupada is explaining to us the wonderful qualities of a Vaishnava and trying to make us understand this is how devotees always want to see that everybody is delivered. So I'll close here. Anybody has anything to ask, discuss, comment? Okay. If nothing to discuss, then we'll close for time today, and then we'll meet again next week. The continuation of this. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Hare Krishna.